All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down a really critical legal update that every single person who owns property in Japan absolutely needs to know about. So if that's you, you're going to want to pay close attention.
So, do you own a mansion? A condominium unit in Japan? Maybe it's an investment, maybe it's a place you visit. Whatever the reason, listen up. There's a new law coming down the pike that isn't just some small adjustment. It is a complete game changer for how your building is run and how much say you actually have.
Here's the official name. It's the Act on Building Unit Ownership, or as it's known in Japanese, the Kubun Shoyu Ho. And you'll want to circle this date, April 1st, 2026. That's when these changes go into effect, but trust me, you'll want to be ready way before then.
So, you're probably asking, okay, why? Why change a law that's been around for decades? And that's a great question. The answer is that Japan is dealing with some very real, very modern problems. Think about it. A lot of condo buildings in Japan are getting old, and they need some serious work. At the same time, many of the owners are getting older too. And on top of that, you have a growing number of owners who are just hard to find. They might be living overseas or just out of touch. And the result of all this? Total gridlock. Crucial decisions about repairs get stuck in limbo for years, and buildings start to crumble. This new law is basically designed to cut through all that red tape.
Now, the full law is pretty dense, but for you as an owner, it really comes down to 3 huge changes. And we're going to walk through each one so you know exactly what's coming.
First up, and this is probably the biggest one, the one that's going to affect you the most. It's a total rewrite of the rules for voting on major decisions for your building. Okay, look at this, because the difference here is night and day. Under the old rule, to pass something big, like a huge expensive renovation, you needed a 3/4 vote from all the owners. Every single one. That was almost impossible to get. If someone didn't show up or didn't send in a ballot, their silence basically counted as a no vote. But now, the new rule says you only need approval from 3/4 of the owners who actually show up and vote.
And this is the part you really need to get. If you participate, your vote is suddenly way more powerful than it used to be. But if you don't participate, your absence no longer protects you. It doesn't count as a no. This means a small, motivated group of owners can get together at a meeting and pass massive decisions that will cost you a lot of money, and they can do it without you ever weighing in.
All right, so that's the big change to voting. Now let's talk about the second major update. This one deals with a really tricky situation. What to do with owners who've just plain vanished.
It's called the missing owner system. Basically, if an owner is completely off the grid, no address, no phone number, just gone, the management association can now go to a court and get permission to just exclude them from the vote count. This makes hitting those voting thresholds, like the 3/4 we just talked about, so much easier. It stops critical projects from being held up by what are essentially ghost owners.
And that brings us to our third big change. This one is specifically for those of you who own a property in Japan but are living somewhere else in the world.
The law is creating a new mandatory role called a domestic manager, or kokonai kaninin. This means your building's management can actually require you to appoint an official point of contact who is physically in Japan. Their job is simple, to receive all the official notices on your behalf. So the excuse of, "Oh, I never got the mail," is gone. Now, this could be a friend or a family member, but it could also be a professional service, which, just so you know, it's something you'd have to pay for.
So we've gone through the what and the why, but let's get real about the stakes here. What happens if you hear all this and just decide to do nothing?
I want you to just read that for a second. This line really sums up the whole situation perfectly. In the past, you could kind of get away with being a passive, hands-off owner. Well, those days are over. From now on, being passive is an active risk to your investment. Because this is the new reality. Just imagine getting a surprise bill in the mail for tens of thousands of dollars for a building repair you didn't even know was being discussed. Or finding out that the building changed the rules and you can't rent your unit out the way you planned. Under this new system, these things are absolutely possible if you're not paying attention.
Okay, so what can you do? I know it sounds a little intimidating, but the good news is that protecting yourself is actually pretty straightforward. You just have to be proactive. Here's your action plan.
Number 1, don't wait. Get in touch with your building's management association, the Kumiai, now. Ask them what their plan is for these new changes. 2, you have to become obsessed with reading every single piece of official mail they send, especially anything that says Sokai, which is the general meeting announcement. That's where all the decisions happen. And third, if you live abroad, start thinking today about who you can appoint as your domestic manager. Don't wait until you're forced to scramble.
At the end of the day, all these changes are really meant to help keep Japan's condo buildings healthy and safe for the long haul. But that new efficiency comes with a new responsibility, and it falls on every single owner. The future of your building, and frankly, the future of your investment, is going to be decided in those meetings. So the only real question left is, will your voice be one of the ones they hear?